We begin the Gemara today on Daf Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Beis, 2 lines up from the bottom of the Yamud. The Gemara here is going to bring 7 different statements that Rab Abba sent to say as a halacha to Rav Yosef Bar Chama. Most of them are not going to have any connection to the sugya of the Gemara that we're learning about here, which is the halachas of Yerusha. But one of them is related to the halacha that we learned before, about a father saying about his son or Bechor. I think that's the one, as we'll see. But the Gemara brings all 7 statements that he sent, and in the end the Gemara is going to say that the halacha is like all of these statements that Rab Abba said. Dr. Gemara Shalach le Rab Abba le Rav Yosef Bar Chama. A person says to his friend, Avdi ganafta, you stole my slave? And this person says, Lo ganafti, no, I didn't steal it from you. So he asks him, if so, ma tiva yatzlacha, what's my slave doing by you? So he answers, Ata machartali, either he says, you sold this slave to me, or Ata nesatili b'matane, you gave it to me as a gift. That's the argument between these two people. Now, what's the halacha in such a kind of case? So the Rashbam says that the one that possesses this slave is believed. He's believed to say that he bought it or he got it as a gift. Why? Because it's in his possession. He has a chazakah. The rule is, anytime a person has something of metaltal and of a movable item that's in his possession, you're the muhsik. Chazaka kol ma shetachas yad adam shalohi. Whatever you have in your possession is yours. Now the Rashbam clarifies here, important point. The Gemara does say earlier here in the Masechta that when you talk about animals or slaves that are able to walk around on their own, so usually the fact that you're possessing this does not prove it's yours, because the slave could have just walked into your house. But that's only if you have it for a day or 2 or whatever period of time. But if we know that it was in your possession for 3 years, then I say that proves that it's yours, even if it's just a slave. Because why is it there for such a long period of time? Okay, that's or the Rashbam says maybe the Gemara here is speaking about an eved, which is still a baby in a crib, and he can't walk by himself. So in such a case, the fact that it's in your possession and you claim that you bought it or that you got it as a gift, you're believed. So if the story would end right here, then the entire is over. There's nothing. This person is believed.
In English, they call it possession. It's 9/10 of the law.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, very good. But now the story goes on to say what happened there is as follows. The one that's possessing this evet says, he says to this person that claims that he stole it, if you want, hashba v'tel. You can swear that this evet belongs to you, and when you swear that it's yours, you'll be able to take it. I'll give it to you. Now, v'nishba, so this person took up the offer, and he swore that it's his evet. Now, after that, the person that offered him this and said that if you swear, you'll be able to take this and keep it, you cannot retract from this that you said, that if you'll swear, I'll give it to you. If after he swears, you come and say to him, I forget about it. I'm right. I mean, my position was correct. The fact that you swore, that doesn't do anything. Now you want to retract from that. Now, over here again, the Rashbam explains that really, in such a case, there's no reason for this person to swear at all. For 2 reasons. First of all, usually there's no such a thing that you swear and take. Usually when you swear, you're swearing in order to keep what's in your possession. There's no concept of a shvuah here, not minat Torah, not midarabanan in this case. Number 2, the Rashbam says, there's a rule that you don't swear on an eved. An eved, which is compared to karka, there's no halacha of a shvuah regarding an eved. And the Rashbam holds that this concept, which we had earlier in the Masechta here, I think, that there's no concept of a shvuah for karka, is even by a shvuah midrabanan. We're not talking here about any kind of shvuah minat Torah. There's no concept of a shvuah, whether minat Torah or midrabanan for an eved. So this is just a personal offer that this person that's possessing this eved is making, allowing this guy to swear and take the eved. But the fact that he offered this, he can't take that back. Now, what's the basis of this? Why can't you take it back after you offer this? And this person already actually took up your offer and swore. Why not? The logic over here that Rashbam says is, because once you made that offer and he swore, we look at it as that you were basically maida to him that it's his. The reason you're saying to him that if you're going to swear that it's his, that he'll be able to keep it, is because you're basically being maida that there's room for your claim, that your claim could be right. If this person would be so confident that it's his, why is he offering this person swear that it's yours and I'll give it to you? By saying that and allowing that person to take it, he's being maida that it's his. So once you're maida, you can't take that back anymore. That's the basis of this halacha that Rabbi says. So the Gemara asks on this, my kamash malom. What was the chiddush of what Rabbi is saying? Tanina, the same concept that Rabbi is saying in this kind of case, we already learned in a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. It says there, Omaloi. So these are 2 people here that have a court case. They're in a din Torah. So one says to the other, Neman alai Abba, I'm going to trust my father to be one of the dayanim, one of the judges in the din Torah. A father is a negei b'davar, he's a karev, he's a relative, and he can't be a judge in a din Torah. Or he says, Neman alai avicha, I trust your father to be one of the judges in the din Torah. Or he says, Nemanan alai shloisha raya bakar, I believe we can use these three shepherds that know Allah, they don't know any halacha, and they're not really kosher to be judges, but I'm accepting the psak din even of these three shepherds as well. Rab Meir so Rab Meir says, even after this person gives his consent for these dayanim, for these judges, but he can later back out. He can later say, no, they're not, they're relatives, or they don't know halacha, and therefore they're not fit to be judges. He can back out from this. However, Chachamim say, he cannot back out. So, which means that after the psak din would be paskin, and now the psak din is that they paskin that he's wrong and he has to pay money. So according to the Chachamim, even though the psak din from these people is not a real psak din because they're not kosher dayanim, but nevertheless, because he gave his consent that he's going to accept their psak din, even if they're going to paskin that he has to pay, he can't retract from this. He's going to have to follow through with that psak din to pay. What's the reason for this? So the Gemara understands that it's the same logic like Abba said. Once you give your consent to something, even though al pidin, you didn't have to. It was done l'fnim mishuras adin, but once you give your consent to this, and now you're being obligated to pay because of your agreement, you're not going to be able to back out. You're basically being made that I owe this money by giving that kind of consent. And therefore it's too late to back out. So Chachamim over here are saying the exact same point that Abba said. So the Gemara says, no, not necessarily. Hakamash Malon, this is the chiddush of what Rab Abba is saying. The be'etin locha machlekes. That this argument between Rab Meir and the Chachamim, when you're appointing judges that are not usually kosher judges, that it applies even in a case where the psak din will be that you're going to have to pay. What the Gemara means to say is as follows. If you look in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, which is the source of this machlekes here, there's another opinion there that says that this whole thing that Chachamim say, that once you agreed you can't back out, that's only if the psak din will be to pater the other person. If the psak din is to pater, so then we're going to accept the psak din that you're going to be meichel, that the other person is going to be meichel and he's not going to be allowed to collect money from you. That's what the psak din is going to be accepted for. Only not to be maitzimanim, to be meichel. Over here, though, according to what Rab Abba is saying, the chiddush is that we accept these judges, even though they're postula judges, that even if they're going to paskin, that you have to pay. Nevertheless, once you agree to this, you're going to be chayiv to pay money. That's the chiddush of what Rab Abba is saying. That you have to understand this machlokes that Chachamim are saying that you agree to accept the psak din even to pay money. And v'halacha kedivrei Chachamim. And Rab Abba is saying that that's what the machlokes is, and that we're paskin like the Chachamim that once you agree, you can't back out anymore from your consent for this. This is the first halacha of Rab Abba. Second halacha, shalach le Rab Abba le Rav Yosef bar Chama. Rab Abba sent to Rav Yosef bar Chama the following halacha. The halacha is goivin min avodim. When a person owed someone money and he passes away, you can collect from his assets, including from slaves that he owned, that are now owned by the yisayim, by the inheritors. Now, the chiddush over here is because usually when it comes to any loan and you're collecting from the children, you can't collect from metaltalin. You could only collect from karka, only from properties. So avodim, what status do they have? Do they have a status of karka? Do they have a status of metaltalin? So the Shmamir brings that really there's a pasuk that says that we compare avodim to karkois, that that they're considered to be just like karkois. So therefore, Rab Abba says that just like you can collect the loan from karka, you can collect from the avodim as well. What Rav Nachman says, ein goivin. No, you cannot, even though they are compared to karkois, but that's only regarding different halachas. How do you create the acquisition of an eved? Regarding that, it's considered to be like karka. And other kinds of halachas that Rashbame quotes, but not regarding collecting from the children for a loan. When it comes to a loan, the lender is not relying on collecting from an eved, because an eved is someone that can walk off. The reason why you collect afka from the karka is because we know that is what he's relying on, because it's something that stays in its place. The karka is not going anywhere. But avodim, even if al pi halacha, they're compared to karkais, but nevertheless, this is not what the lender is relying on collecting from, because the avodim can walk away. The third halacha that Rabbi Abba said, Shalach le Rabbi Abba Rav Yosef bar Chama, the halacha is that shlishi b'sheni kosher. Right, now what is this referring to? This is the halachas of relatives that are puzzled to be edim to each other. Now the relatives that are puzzled, so how close of a relative or how distant of a relative are we talking about that you're puzzled to say edus? So if it's brothers that are saying edus for each other, this is what's called rishon b'rishon. If it's first cousins that are saying edus for each other, that's what's called sheni b'sheni. They're relatives that are already the next generation. So that's what's called relatives that are sheni b'sheni. If it's the next generation, the first cousin's children, which we call second cousins, that's what's called shlishi b'shlishi. They're already the next generation. They're actually going to be kosher to say edus for each other. The psul of relatives to say edus is only first cousins, which is called sheni b'sheni. So over here, what Rav Abba is saying is that just like the shlishi b'shlishi, the second cousins are kosher to say edus for each other, the generation of a shlishi, which wants to say edus for one generation up, for a sheni, is also going to be kosher. So for example, if you have Reuven and Shimon have children, and those children have children, so a grandchild is going to be a grandchild of Reuven, that is. A grandchild of Reuven is going to be kosher to say edus for a son of Shimon. That's what the shlishi b'sheni is. That's the statement that Rabbi Abba said about this. Now, in connection to this, Rava says, Av Perishon, that the grandchild of Reuven is kosher to say edus not only for the son of Shimon, but he's also kosher to say edus for Shimon himself. The first generation of what we're talking about over here. That's also enough of a distant relative that you can say edus for him. Mar bar Avashi, now based on this, Mar bar Avashi achsher ba'abba da'abba. Mar bar Avashi said that a grandchild could say edus for his grandfather, because the son of his father, he considered him to be a sheni. He's already the one generation down from his father. And then the grandchild, he considers to be a shlishi. He's already a third generation from the father. So therefore, from the grandfather, that is. So the grandchild, Mar bar Avashi said, could say edus for the grandfather. But the Gemara says, "V'les hilchase kavase, v'les hilchase k'mar bar Avashi." We don't pass like what Mar bar Avashi said. And the Rashbam here says, when it comes to a child, a grandchild, a great-grandchild, and the Rashbam's opinion here about this is, it could be forever and ever. As far down as the generations go, every child is just like the son himself. And therefore, you cannot say edus for a grandfather, great-great-great-great-grandfather. It's always going to be negei b'edus. The whole halacha of saying that there's a second, or sheni b'sheni, shlishi b'shlishi, that's only when you're talking about cousins. When there's brothers, and then you have the children of these brothers and the grandchildren of the brothers, then the further you go, the more the distant they are, and you can say that they could say edus. Masha'en came by a great-grandfather and a great-grandchild, or over there, they can't say edus. The grandchild cannot say edus for the grandfather. There are other Rishonim, though, that say that the halacha that the Gemara here is saying that a grandchild cannot say edus for the grandfather, it's only the grandchild for a grandfather. But a great-grandchild, which is one generation further, could say edus. The Gemara is only saying that the halacha is not like Mar bar Avashi regarding a grandchild. Not by great. I think most Rishonim hold a great-grandchild could say edus for the great-grandfather. Another halacha Rabbi Abba sent, Shalach le Rabbi Abba Rav Yosef bar Chama, Hoya yedei lo be'edus karka. A person that knew testimony regarding the measurement and the area of a piece of land, regarding to testify who it belongs to, before he went blind. And then nistama. And now he went blind, and he wants to come and testify about this area, about the karka, exactly who it belongs to. So puzzle. At this point, he's puzzled to say edus, because in order for him to say edus about this piece of karka, he has to be able to see exactly the place where it is. So if he can't, and now he's going to say edus without seeing, he's going to say edus just by estimating and speaking about it without seeing, so then we can't accept such edus. Shmuel Amar, however, Shmuel argues and says, kosher, that this edus will be kosher. Why? Because efsher, the mechaven matzrana, he could be mechaven even without seeing the boundaries of this property, but he can be mechaven, he can give us signs for us to understand exactly till where the boundaries are. So he's able to testify what he knows, even without him being able to see. We can rely on the estimation of this person that's blind. Aval glima, however, if this is a person that became blind and he wants to testify about a garment, like that he can't testify about, because now that he can't see, he can't identify this garment as belonging to a specific person. But Rav Sheshes Amar, however, Rav Sheshes argues, and Rav Sheshes says, Afilu glima. Even when it comes to a garment, he's able to testify even after he goes blind. Because Efsher, the Mechavim, Midis Arkai, Midis Rachbai. Maybe when he was able to see, he knew the length, the width, he knew the size of the garment, and even now when he can't see, but he's able to identify the size of it, and that's how he can tell us that it belongs to this person. Avol, Nasche, however, if it's a bar of silver, loy. So that's something that if you can't see it, so then he can't say Eidus about it. Rav Papa argues on this as well. Rav Papa says, Afila Nasche, even by a bar of silver, so even if he went blind, he's able to testify about that he can recognize it with his estimation that it belongs to someone. How? The Mechave Midis Mishkaloisav. Because he's saying Eidus based on the weight of it. He can say that I know exactly its weight, and therefore it belongs to this person, even without being able to see. So as you see over here, the machlokes basically is, according to Rab Abba, the Eidus has to be dafka, something that the person is able to see clearly. Just relying on simonim, different kinds of simonim that this person that's blind will give us is not good enough. So the machlokes here, the Mefarshim say, is based on the question whether these kinds of simonim, how do I refer to these simonim? The Gemara in Bava Basra says that there are certain simonim that are called a siman muvak. It's a very, very clear and strong siman that you can rely on identifying it. And then there's certain simonim that are not so clear. It's just a plain siman. The Gemara there discusses that a siman that's not a siman muvik, it could even be that minat Torah, we don't even rely on such a siman. So over here, these kinds of simanim we're talking about, the boundaries or the size or the weight of something, is that a solid enough of a siman that even a person that's blind can testify about this? That's the basis of this machlokes. So the Gemara asks on all these opinions here. Meisvei, the Gemara asks on the opinions of Shmuel and Rav Papa. Who was it over here? You had Shmuel, Rav Sheshes, and Rav Papa that said that a blind person could testify, even if now he's blind, with using certain simonim regarding what he's testifying about. So they asked on him, on them that is, the Braisa says, if a person saw and he had testimony to testify, but what he saw was before he became a son-in-law for this person. And then v'nasa chasane. Now he became a son-in-law. Once he's in son-in-law, so now he's puzzled to say Eidus for his father-in-law. Or pikeyach, if he was a healthy person, he was able to hear, and then v'nischarish, he became deaf. Or piseyach, he was a person that was able to see, v'nistame, and now he became blind. Or shafoi, he was a sane human being, v'nishtata, and he went crazy. So apostle. So now, since when he's saying the Eidus, he doesn't have his senses with him, so he can't testify now. Or he became apostle Eidus because he's a karev, so he can't testify now. Aval, however, if the case here is, he knew, he had information that he knows testimony before he became a son-in-law. Then he became a son-in-law, but then what happened was, now his daughter passed away, and he's not a son-in-law anymore. When it comes to time to say the Eidus, he's again not anymore a son-in-law. Or pikeyach, a person that was healthy, v'nischarish, and he became deaf, but then v'chazav v'nispakeyach. When it comes time to say the Eidus, now he's healthy again, he's able to hear. Or piseyach, v'nistama, a person that was able to see and became blind, v'chazav v'nispaseyach, and he got healed, he's able to see again. Or shofay v'nishtata, a person that was healthy and sane, and he went crazy, and now v'chazav v'nishtafa, he's healthy again. So kosher. So since now, when he has to say the Eidos, he's able to see, or he's able to hear, and so on, and so then he's kosher. So the Braisa finishes off, Zeh HaKlal, the rule here is as follows. Kol shetchilosai oisaifai bepaslos, if this is a person, whether in the beginning, when he saw what he saw, when he witnessed, then he was not a kosher person for Eidos. Or at the end, when he has to come and testify, he wasn't kosher anymore, then pasul, then his Eidos will be pasul. However, tchilasai v'saifai bekashros, if in the beginning, when he witnessed, and in the end, when he wants to testify, he's now a kosher aid, then kosher, it'll be kosher. The fact that in between there was something pasul about him, that does not matter. So what do you see from here? The Rashbam says the Gemara is asking because of the Zeh HaKlal that it says in the end. Why does the Braisa have to add the Zeh HaKlal? The Braisa spelled out very clearly the halachas here. The Braisa is saying this case of Zeh HaKlal to tell me that the cases that we spoke about before, a person that was able to see, and then later on he becomes blind. Even if when he's blind, he's able to give edus about a certain object based on estimation, whether by size, whether by weight, but still it's not good. The fact that he's now blind, we can't rely on that. So the Gemara says, Tiyufta de Kulu, this refutes all those opinions that say that even when a person goes blind, he's still able to testify by estimation. The klal of the Braisa is saying is that no, that if now the aid is blind, he's not able to testify. Says the Gemara, Tiyufta. This Braisa refutes all of those opinions, and therefore we follow like Rav Abba said, that the moment the aid becomes blind, he's not able to testify anymore. Another halacha, Sholach Rav Abba Rav Yosef Bar Chomer. Rav Abba sent to Rav Yosef Bar Chomer the following halacha: Ha'omer al tinik bein abonim. Person that says something regarding a child amongst brothers, neman, he's believed for what he says. Now the Gemara will clarify in a moment what exactly it is that he said. So Rav Abba says that he's believed. Rav Yechanan Amar, however, Rav Yechanan says ein neman, that he's not believed to say this. Now the Gemara explains, my Ka'amar, what's Rav Abba saying? What exactly is this person saying about this child amongst the brothers? So Amar Abaya says, what he meant to say is Hachi Ka'amar. Ha'omer al tinik bein abonim, if a person identifies one of his sons amongst the brothers, Yirash kol nechasai, let him inherit all of my possessions. He's taking the Yerusha of all the children and giving it to one son. Neman, he's trusted, he's believed to say this. And what is Rab Abba saying by this? Rabbi Yechanan ben Breike. This follows Rabbi Yechanan ben Breike's opinion. Because we had already before a few times in the Gemara that when a person, when he's alive, says, I want to give one of my sons a matana, that everybody agrees he's allowed to decide to give one child a matana, give everything away to one child. But over here, we're talking about something else. He's not saying matana, he's saying Yerusha. He wants to change the Yerusha the way it is Menatayre. That one of my sons should be the one that will inherit and not the others. So according to Rabbi Yechanan ben Breike, as long as you're not taking away the Yerusha completely, you're giving the Yerusha to one Yerush and not to all, you're able to do that, according to him. So Rabbi Abba is paskening like Rabbi Yechanan ben Breike. But Rabbi Yechanan says he's not believed. Rabbi Yechanan is passing like the Rabbanon that says you can't change the Yerusha Menatayre. Even when you're giving it to one son, which is Roy to be a Yerush, you can't change that. We'll see this is later on Daf Kuf Lamed. There's a machlekes there. But that's what Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Yechanan are arguing about. But the Gemara asks on this pshat, Maskefla Rava asked on this pshat, Hi, Nemon ve'ene Nemon. According to your pshat, why do they use the terms of believed, whether this person is believed or not believed? Yirash v'lo yirash mibayale. The right term to be used over here is that he's saying regarding one tinik, regarding one child, that he should be the one that will inherit and not the others. Why are they saying the term of nemon, believed or not believed? It's not an issue of whether he's believed or not. So therefore Rava says a different pshat. Hachi ka'amar, this is what Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Yechanan were talking about. Ha'omer al tinik ben abonim, a person that says regarding one child amongst brothers, b'chayru, he's coming and testifying, this is a b'chayr. And we're talking here about a situation where there was already a chazakah. There was already a presumption about someone else that's a b'chayr, and now the father comes and says, no, it's this child that's the b'chayr. Neman, he'll be believed. So what's Rabbi Abba saying? Rabbi Yehuda. We had this on the previous blot, that this is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, that a father, it says in the pasuk Yakir, a father is believed to say that one child is a b'chayr, even if we had a chazakah that there was another child a b'chayr. Rabbi Yechanan Amar, Einen Eman, Rabbi Yechanan says that he's not believed, K'Rabbanan. Rabbi Yechanan is following the Rabbanan's opinion that says that a father is not believed against the chazakah to say that one child is a b'chayr. Another halacha, Sholach le Rab Abba le Rav Yosef. Rab Abba sent to Rav Yosef Bar Chomer, that is to say the following halacha. Ha'omer, a person that says, Titoil ishti ke'echad min abanim. My wife should take a part of the inheritance just like one of my sons. So over here the case is that he's not saying that she should inherit together with them. A wife does not have any rights to inherit together with sons. He's saying Tito, she should take, which means he's giving her a portion as a gift to inherit together with the sons. So she takes a portion of the inheritance just like together with the other sons, because as I mentioned before, a gift, a person is allowed to give in his lifetime a gift, whatever he wants, to whoever he wants, and here he's giving his wife. Now, Rava qualifies and says about this, what the wife will get is only with the possessions, the monies that there are in this person's possession right now. But any money or any possessions that comes later after he said this, it will not take effect for that, because that's a davar shaloi bala olam. He can't give a gift for something that he doesn't have yet. But on the other hand, ubebanim haban la'achal mikan. When we divide and we give the wife her portion, and she's getting just like, because the father said, or the husband said that he's giving just like the other sons, so that includes even any son that will be born later, and now you have to divide with that son as well, the wife is going to get and a portion also taking into account a son that's born later, or a son, because the father clearly said that he wants the gift to be just like the sons. That includes even a son that's born later. Another halacha, shalach le Rababa le Rav Yosef Bachame, Rababa sent to say this, the halacha, hamoitzi shtar choyva chaverei. A person that takes out a document of a loan against his friend, and he says, here, you owe me this money. And malva oimer, so the lender says, lo nefrati, I was never paid up for this loan that I have here in this document. Klum, nothing. The Leiva responds and says, Paraiti mechza. He's a maida b'miktsas. He says, no, I paid up half of this loan. And then, after he says that, what happens? Edim come along, and me'idin shepara kulay. The Edim actually come and say that he paid the entire loan already. So what happens in such a case? On one hand, he's a maida b'miktsas. But on the other hand, though, after he was Maida b'miktsas, what's the halacha always regarding a Maida b'miktsas is that you have to swear regarding the part that you deny, and then the part that you admit you have to pay. But now after he's a Maida b'miktsas, Adam came and said that he paid up the entire thing. So Rav Abba said the halacha in this case is Hareze nishba v'goyve mechze, that we do treat him like a Maida b'miktsas, that he's going to have to swear on the part that he denies that he owes, and then the lender will be able to collect the half that he admits that he still owes. However, he could only collect that minachasim b'nei chayrin, only from properties that are free and clear, meaning the properties that the borrower still has in his possession. Aval mimishubadim loy. But if the lender is going to want to go to any of the buyers of this borrower that sold properties to them, and he wants to go and confiscate properties from those buyers, that he can't do. Why? Because those buyers can say, Anan a'edim samchinon. We rely on what the Adam said. The Adam said that this loan was paid up. So therefore the buyers can say, something looks fishy over here. This looks like what's called a kanunya. It looks like some kind of trick between the borrower and the lender, that they want to confiscate the property that I bought here. So therefore you can't collect from the buyers. Okay, so now the Gemara clarifies the pshat over here in this halacha. The chiddush here is that we're saying that this is basically considered to be a maida b'miktsas, even though in the end you have Edim that are saying that he paid up the whole thing. So the Gemara clarifies and says, even according to Rabbi Akiva's opinion, that says regarding a case that's similar to this case, that we should consider this person to be a Meshav Aveda, meaning he's returning a lost object. What's the halacha by a Meshav Aveda? If a person has a lost object that he's holding on to, and now the owner that comes and claims it says that it was more than what you had. Let's say there was a wallet and he's giving him a wallet with $50. He says, hey, this wallet had $100 in it. You took $50 out for yourself. In such a case, the person that found this lost object does not have to swear that there was only $50 here. This is a takonas chachamim. We never make a person that found the lost object and is returning it swear about this. Because if we would, then everybody would stay away from returning a lost object. Why should I get involved into these problems and I'll have to swear? So Rabbi Akiva says that this case over here is also similar. This should also be considered a Meshav Aveda. Why? Because you have Edim that are testifying that you're totally putter. And you're coming and offering and are saying and are being maida that you only paid half. So you're basically returning something that without you admitting would be totally lost. Edom are testifying that you don't own anything. Now, what was the case that Rabbi Akiva said this? Rabbi Akiva says this regarding a case that the Gemara brings in Bava Basra, where you have a star that's very vague. What happens if you have a star that it says in it that you owe dinrim, you owe coins, and it uses the plural term of coins, but it doesn't say the amount. And the borrower says, I borrowed only 3 coins from you. And the lender says, no, you borrowed 5. So now the borrower is a maida b'miktsas. The lender is claiming 5 and you're being maida to a part, you're being maida to 3. Rabbi Akiva says in such a case, you're not a maida b'miktsas, you don't have to swear. Why? Because you admitted to more than what you had to, based on the language of the shtar itself. When the shtar says dinrim, or coins, which is a plural term, you could have taken the minimum of that, which is 2. Why were you made it to 3? You were made it to something extra. The moment you made it to something extra, so over here you're called a Meshav Avedi. You're returning something more than what it says in the document, which is just 2. So in such a case, you don't swear. So seemingly what Rabbi Akiva says in that case should be applied here when you have Edim that are testifying that you're totally potter. But the Gemara says, no, we don't compare to here. Why not? Hanemili, when do I say that? Heiche de leke edim. In that case, regarding that document that I just explained, where the document says dinrim, so there's no concern that there's any edim that are coming to say different than what it says in the document. The document just says dinrim. It doesn't say more than that. And even if edim come, the edim that signed that document, the edim signed a document which was vague. It never said how much it is. And that's what they signed. That's it. But in our case, as we see now, there are edim that are testifying about this loan, and edim are coming to say that you didn't pay anything. So over here, there's actually a svara to say irsusi irsis. This person that knows that there are edim that know about what happened here, he may be afraid that the edim actually know, and he might be thinking to himself that these edim know that I didn't pay anything. That's what the edim may come and say. So because the edim might say that I didn't pay anything, the fact that he comes and says that he paid half, that's not called a meshiv aveda. You can't say that, there are edim that are saying that he paid it all, and he's coming and being maida, so he's returning something. No, adarabah. When did those edim come? Those edim came after he was already maida. Before those edim came, you know why he was maida? Because he thought that maybe there are edim that will come and say that I already paid part, and that edim will come and say that I didn't pay anything. So therefore, in this case, he's not called a meshiv aveda. That's the explanation for Rab Abba's opinion in this case. So therefore, he's called a regular maida b'miktsas, and he has to pay. But Mar Baravashi disagrees with this, as the Gemara Maskefla Mar Baravashi asks that the svara is actually the exact opposite. Adarab, on the contrary. And I hear the Gemara goes back to that case that I mentioned before regarding the case in Bava Basra, where there's a document which is written, a vague document, where it just says dinner in it, and it doesn't say the amount. And the borrower said that it's 3, and the lender says that it's 5. So as I mentioned, Rabbi Kiva in that case says that you're a meshiv aveda. You will made it to more than you had to, so you don't make a shvua. But there, the Gemara says, Rab Shimon ben Elazar disagrees. Rab Shimon ben Elazar says that you do have to make a shvua. So now the Gemara says, Afil Rab Shimon ben Elazar, Mar Baravashi says, even according to Rab Shimon ben Elazar, the Alma Meidim Miktsas Hatayna Have, that in that case, where there's a vague document and you will made it to 3 and the lender says no, it's 5. So Rab Shimon ben Elazar says that there you are considered to be a meidim miktsas. Hanemili, when is that? That's because over there's a document and it's a vague document. Dinrim could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 5. So over there you don't have edim that are supporting what you're saying. So therefore you're called a meidim miktsas. But in our case, where the edim now are coming and are supporting what you're saying, the edim are actually saying that you paid it all already. So they're supporting what you're saying, that you at least paid half. Vadai meshiv aveda have. In such a case, definitely the fact that he admitted that he did not pay half, it's like he's returning a lost object, and therefore he's going to be potter. So the svara that Ma Baravashi is saying is, even though the edim arrived after you were maida, and before the Edom came, you didn't know what those Edom are going to say. But the fact that the Edom now come and say, like what you said, they actually say even more than what you said. So in such a case, the halacha is going to be that you're considered to be a meshiv aveda, because the Edom are supporting what you're saying. Okay, I just want to finish the Inyan. It's going a little bit to the next moment, but I want to finish the Inyan over here. Now the Gemara concludes after all of this who the halacha is like. Says the Gemara, Darash Marzutra Mishmei Rav Shimi Bar Ashi Hilchase B'chol Hanishmaitase. The halacha regarding all of these halachas that we just brought here, there are 7 halachas that we brought. Kedushalach le Rab Abba le Rav Yosef Bar Chama, like what Rab Abba sent to say in the name to Rav Yosef Bar Chama. Amar le Ravina le Ravashi. So Ravina asked Ravashi about this. The Rav Nachman Mai. One of the cases was a case where Rav Nachman was arguing on Rab Abba. That was the case regarding whether you can collect from avodim. Now the klal always is by dinei mominus, we paskin like Rav Nachman. Are you going to say that we paskin like Rab Abba against Rav Nachman in this case? So the Gemara says, Malay, you have to amend Rab Abba's opinion before. Rab Abba really did not argue with Rav Nachman. Ein goivin masninan lo. That really Rab Abba agreed to Rav Nachman that you cannot collect from avodim, and v'chein Rav Nachman. And Rav Nachman, exactly like Rav Nachman said, there's no argument between them. So the Gemara says, if so, ve'ela hilchase la fuke mai. When Mazutra says that we paskin like Rab Abba, what was he saying this for? To exclude what? In what case is anybody arguing with Rab Abba that he has to come and say that we paskin like Rab Abba? And the Gemara says, ila fuke midirave. If it's to come to exclude from what Rava said, Rava before, this is the case regarding the relatives in the Eidos, where Rab Abba said that a sheni b'shlishi, can say Eidos, and Rava said that the Shlishi Berishain could also say Eidos. So the Gemara says, Rava is not arguing on Rababa Maistufu. He's just adding on the point that Rababa said. There's no reason to say that they're arguing about this. Now, Idemar Baravashi, if it's a reason we have to say here that the halacha is, like Rababa, to exclude Mar Baravashi's opinion, this was what Mar Baravashi said, that a grandson could say Eidos for a grandfather, less Hilchase, Kemar Baravashi. We already said before that we don't paskin like Mar Baravashi. And if we're saying now that the halacha is like Rababa, and this is to exclude, this is regarding the case of an aid that went blind. So Shmuel, Rav Sheshes, and Rav Papa said in different cases that the aid could still testify based on estimation. So if we're saying now that the halacha is like Rababa to exclude from their opinion, there's no reason to say this now. We already refuted their opinion from a Braisa before. So the Gemara concludes, Ella, why are we saying now that the halacha is like Rababa? La fuke mid Rav Yechanan. It comes to exclude from what Rav Yechanan said. This is regarding the case of a father identifying one child as a B'cher, where Rab Abba said that the father is believed, and Rab Yechanan said the father is not believed. So we paskin like Rab Abba, which is paskin like Rab Yehuda, that the father is believed. Me'at kafte the Mar Baravashi. And also the last case here regarding the Meide B'miktsas, that we don't follow the question of Mar Baravashi. We don't consider him to be a Meishav Aveda, but he's a Meide B'miktsas, and will be chayev to make a shvuah.